So let's talk about length and time. So why we need to talk about length and time? What's all this stuff? I'm sure you already know, like, hey, I already know lah, what's length, what's time. But what they have the discussion about length and time here is with regards to measuring small amounts of values. So let's say, for example, in terms of length, let me do this. Oh, I forgot to check. Can you all see my screen? Can you see my Jamboard? Where's my chat messages? Can, okay. Because I remember, because it was one time I was teaching a class, I talk, then they're like, teacher, I cannot see your board. I'm like, huh? Then I realized I was sharing the wrong board. Length and time. So what we're gonna, what you need to learn about these two in this lesson, okay, is basically, if let's say we have to measure very small amounts of length. So say, for example, we have to measure small, like the diameter of a wire, So you all know what a wire is, right? Let me get a picture lah. Hey. Actually, you want to measure the diameter of a wire. Imagine lah. You think you can take a ruler and measure the diameter of a wire? It means you want to measure, the diameter of a wire. Can you take a ruler and measure? What do you think? Take a ruler. Hey, what's my ruler? I never got my ruler. Cannot. So it's a bit difficult, right? But sometimes they will ask this, they will, what they do in exams, they ask you to use a ruler. So they actually give you a ruler. And then maybe they give you, maybe say, okay, let's have a pencil. They give you a pencil. And they ask you to measure the diameter of a wire. Now, I'm not sure whether you've learned this before. If they give you this kind of tools, pencil and ruler, how to measure the diameter of a wire? Have you learned before? No. Okay. So this is what you do. You actually take the wire. Let's say this is your pencil, right? You take this wire and you wrap around the pencil. So that means this wire you wrap around the pencil. Okay. And then what you do is when you arrange the wire in such a way that it's really like next to each other like that. So you wrap really around the pencil. Then you picture the wire is, you loop around the pencil so that the wire is side by side. So this is the wire. You loop around the pencil. You loop. How to measure the diameter? You take the ruler. Let me draw just like that lah. You take the ruler and then you actually measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are you starting to get the picture? So that means, let's say we measure in such a way. We place like here starting at the 0. Then you count. Let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to put the number so weird. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's say we make 10 loops like that. And then we measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say we measure. We count already. We have 10 loops here, so we make 10 loops. And then when we measure the length, let's say we get example 1.4 cm. Let's say. So based on this information, how much do you think is the diameter of the wire now? 1.4. 1.4 what? So every time you give a number, you must give the unit. 1.4 cm. But the 10 loop is 1.4 cm. Or if I put 10 loops 1.4 cm, I loop ready. How come my diameter of the wire is 1.4 cm also? Do you understand my question? My question now is, how do I write this? Can you give me the diameter of the wire? Where's my mouse? You understand my question? I have a wire. I want to measure the diameter. The diameter means what? That means if this is the wire is the wire. I want to measure the diameter, meaning this one, the diameter. That means you see the circle, right? The circle. I want to measure the diameter, the wire. That means if this is, I'm measuring the diameter, means I want to measure this one. Or sometimes you will see the arrow is outside because sometimes it's too small to draw the arrow inside. They draw the arrow outside. That means it's between these two arrowhead. So I want to measure the diameter of the wire. So what I do is I take a pencil, then I loop 10 times. Go round and round and round 10 times. Then I really make sure it's side by side when I loop. Then I keep looping, and then I measure the length. So now I'm telling you I got 10 loops. And the length, when we put the loop side by side, we measure now as 1.4 cm. So how much is the diameter for one wire? 14 cm. .14 cm. I confused. You're confused about the question, or you understand the question but don't know how to get the answer? You understand the question, don't know how to get the answer. Okay. If it's 1.4 cm, then you need to divide by 10 ma. If you have, it's like, let's say if I have 10 apples, or 3 of you, I want to give each of you the same number. I must take the 10, divide into 3. So you end up getting 3.33 apples each. How to get the 3.33? Either you bite or you cut lah. Follow SOP lah, we cut. But you must take and you divide. So if it's 1.4 cm, got 10, that means you must divide into 10. 1.4 cm divide by 10. Okay. So it's 0.14 cm. Yeah. So you have to be clear about when to divide and when to times. Okay, because if you have 1.4, you need to divide. So another way you must also think like this. 1.4 cm got 10 ma, so each one must be smaller lor. If you times 10, you get 14 cm. You look at your ruler, 14 cm is quite long, That means you're telling me one wire is 14 cm. Hey, that's very long, your ruler. Where's my ruler? You take your ruler. Next time you really you cannot visualize. Sometimes you cannot visualize, you take your ruler and you see, 14 cm is from here to here, here to here. This is 14 cm. That's very big. Then you think, hey, logic meh? The wire is 14 cm. No ma, so that's not the correct answer. Lor. So if it's 1.4 is only here, then each wire is even smaller. So you sometimes you don't just write the number, correct lah. You take the ruler and you see logic or not. Is it logic or not? 14 cm. Sometimes you have to do that. And this is only for length. Later when we do more physics calculations, the numbers will become even bigger or smaller. That's why you have to start learning how to test the logical and test the rationale, we say. Test how logical the answers are. Any questions? No. Do you understand why we need to do this kind of thing or not? You know what's the purpose of us doing this kind of loop? Because earlier, just now was my question. My question is, I want to get the diameter of the wire. Can we take a ruler to measure or not? Cannot, right? You all told me cannot, ma. So that means in this kind of situation, as physics students, we need to learn to be, what's the correct word? It's being creative, but creative in a science way, where if I need you to measure something, and we can't measure directly, we need to measure the diameter of a wire, but we only got ruler. How to measure is very difficult. So then another way, the creative people will think, how? So creative in a science way, like, I can't measure one diameter of the wire like that. But if I can get many wires, then I can divide, I can count, ma. So that's why they do that, lor. They wrap, so that you have many, because one by itself is very difficult to count. Sometimes the number is very small, it's impossible to count. But if you have many, then you can count, ma. Easier to measure, lor. Then you divide, then you can get the number. Does that make sense? This concept that you are learning now is, if we need to measure something very small that our normal ruler cannot measure, what's another way? Another way is you get many and then you divide. Okay. Wait. Maybe I take this away. I rewrite the concept here. I write the concept here for you. So this is the concept. I write out in words lah, because you don't have your book. Maybe that's why it's a bit challenging also. So here's the concept. The concept is this. We need to measure. We need to not measure. We need to measure something very small, like the diameter of a wire. Wire using a ruler. But it's very difficult because the diameter is too small. So we take many wires, put into loops, and we measure the length of many wires side by side. Okay, so if I write like this, does it make sense? Like that? Is it clearer why we are doing this? This is all in the Jamboard. And I already give you the folder access, so you can download later lah, and keep for your notes if you need to. Any questions up to this point? No. Okay. This is only one. This concept we need to learn for a few different styles. Okay. Although I write is creative, but now you are learning it lah. So no need for you to be creative, because other people become creative and they teach you how to do the same thing. But you need to be aware of how to use this concept for different situations. So this is one example where we want to measure length of something. Well, length in this case is diameter, not length lah. But is we are still measuring, but you can think of it as, oh, we're measuring the length this way, not this way. We're measuring the length this way, which is the diameter. Got another one. Is I'll go through a few more. Your book only mentioned 2, but I'll go through maybe I'll go through this one plus one more lah, so at least you are aware. So we take the same concept to measure other values that are very small. Okay. So another one is time. The one in your book you need to learn is time. In fact, I want you to do an experiment at home. Have you done the pendulum experiment before, class? Pendulum experiment. Where's my mouse? You know what's a pendulum experiment? You should know, right? Have you done before? This is Barton's pendulum. Not the complicated one, simple one. But no nice picture. There's no nice picture of a nice pendulum. All the pendulum are weird looking. That's Newton's cradle. That's not a pendulum. Okay lah, let's see. Okay, this is a nice picture. I wanted a photo. Okay, I'm reading your comment, your chat now. No, you haven't done the pendulum experiment before. But you know about this experiment? Are you aware about this experiment? Okay, if you haven't done it, I want you to do it. Not now lah. I will share with you a video which I have created to teach my students how to do the pendulum experiment at home. So I shared with all my students. I make them all do, and the reason I make them do, the reason that I suggest that they do this is because you see, science is science, right? We learn in theory is very boring. True, you agree or not? If you learn theory only, it's very boring. Unless you love online learning in theory only. Hey, hello, chat, talk to me. Talk to me. So have you managed to do any experiments with science in the last 3 years? Because you told me you've been with this school 3 years, right? And I think you even went into school physically, right? Did you get to do any experiments in the school? Yes or no? Got plant a seed. Okay. That's for the bio part lah of one of the science. I think must be year 7 or year 8. Besides that, no more. Oh, but the time when you plant, wasn't it more interesting rather than just learn in theory? At least you plant like, okay, got to do something more interesting, right? So for physics, right? Physics is one of those sciences, right, where the experiments that we can do, right? Actually, there's a lot of experiments you can do at home. Bio and chemistry also can, but a bit challenging because you don't have all the correct apparatus, right? Like bio can now, you can plant a seed, but if you want to do dissection, you want to cut open the frog or the mouse or whatever, it's a bit difficult lah because you don't have the correct tools, ma. Okay, you want to simply catch one frog and then you simply want to cut. You use your kitchen knife, your mom will scream at you like, "Oi, why you take my kitchen knife?" So not suitable lah. And then you have to make sure you are clean. You have to wear the gloves and like that, so you don't simply cut. Wear the mask. So it's possible but difficult. And then if you do wrong, then no one can help you to correct. So sometimes the teacher needs to be there to monitor. So something's a bit dangerous because you cannot simply be cutting things on your own, right? Chemistry also a bit difficult because chemistry, you want to get the chemicals right. Some chemicals at home can. If the teacher want to give, definitely can. I also have done chemistry experiments at home, but you have to be careful, and then sometimes you can't get the correct chemical, then you can't do the experiment already. And then so there's very, very few experiments you can do. Physics also got a lot of apparatus. Apparatus means all the lab equipment. And we need a lot of lab equipment. Actually, we do. But there's some experiments you can do, maybe not as fantastic in the lab, but you can do at home. So at least you can learn something about physics. Then you see for yourself, oh, this is what happens. So for that reason, that's why I encourage my students to try to do some of these experiments at home. Okay, so not all, we can't do a lot of experiments. There's a lot of experiments we probably can't do because we don't have the apparatus, but the ones that you can do, I want to ask you to do. And we will learn to do a simple report. Why we need to do a report? Because if you want to be science students, right, especially if you want to take science at higher level, you must know how to write report. Okay, especially if you want to go A-levels, because I don't want you after you finish your IGCSE O-levels, then when you can get A and all that, but you don't even know how to write a report. When you go to A-levels and university, you will struggle because you're like I never learned to write this before. So I want you to learn to write, so at least it gives you a lot of very good foundation. Then next time when you have to do a report, you're like, oh, I already know how to do this. It's easy. So better to learn now, lor. I just read that you wrote, I got tried before very good. You mean you dissect before, is it? What you dissect? What do you dissect? Oh, very girly. Yeah, hey, you cut out the heart, you leave the heart one side, it will continue to beat for a few hours. You saw that, right? When you did the dissection. So weird, right? No blood also, it was still, yeah, it's a bit, yeah, so strange. Okay, Zoom is running out of time in 5 minutes. Can we exit? I'm gonna end meeting now and y'all come back. I don't want to talk halfway and then we get kicked out. So I'm gonna end the meeting now, we come back straight away, okay?